Hello my friends. Our story today is beautiful and interesting. The title of our story, Rapunzel. One day, the prince was riding in the woods when he heard a girl sing. He got off his horse and drove quietly along a mossy footpath until he reached an empty space. In the clearing was a round and straight tower like a giant pine tree. The tower was so tall that its roof seemed to touch the sky. In its upper part there was a small window. The sound was coming from the small window. "It will be a long climb to climb the stairs to that summit," said the prince, shadowing his eyes and looking up. "But I must find who sings nicely." He loosened the horse's bridle over a branch and went to look for a way in. He revolved around the tower 100 times. He did not find any door, no window. There is no hidden entrance. It was impossible to climb outside because the sides were very smooth and there was no crack or edge where he could place his feet. In the end, the frustrated prince was forced to abandon his quest and return home with a sound drifting in the wind behind him. The prince could not forget the voice he had heard coming from the tower. He dreamed about it in daydreams and dreamed about it in his sleep. One day, when he was sitting in the branches of a tree near the tower, an old witch came out of the forest. The prince kept very quiet and watched to see what she would do. "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair," she cried. Immediately, a long braid of golden hair tumbled from the window at the top of the tower. It was so long, its tip touched the ground. The old witch caught hold of it as though it was a rope, and someone in the room at the top of the tower pulled her upwards until she disappeared. The prince was so excited, he almost fell out of the tree. He waited until the old witch had come down again and hobbled away into the forest. Then he went to the door of the tower himself. "Rapunzel, Rapunzel," he called, "let down your hair." Again the golden hair came tumbling from the tower, but this time it was the handsome prince who used it as a rope and not an ugly old witch. In the tiny room at the top of the tower was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. Who are you?" she gasped. "I thought you were the witch." "Don't be afraid," said the prince. "I will not hurt you." He told her his name and how he had heard her singing when he was riding in the forest. "I sing because I am lonely," said Rapunzel. "I have been locked alone in this tower since I was 12 years old. My only visitor is the witch who brought me here. I will help you escape," said the prince. "How can you?" sighed Rapunzel. "I cannot climb down my own hair and there is no other way in or out of the tower." "I will bring you a silken ladder," promised the prince. The next day, the old witch Rapunzel visited the tower again. "You are much heavier than the prince," Rapunzel said, without thinking about what she was saying. The witch was so angry that she almost exploded. She grabbed scissors from the table, and before Rapunzel could stop her, she cut her long braids from her golden hair. The witch shouted, "Now your prince will never enter the tower. Rapunzel is banished to a faraway place." Even if the prince found a way to the tower, Rapunzel wouldn't be there. The prince had no way of knowing what happened when he called on Rapunzel to cut her hair. It was believed that it was she who threw long golden braids out of the window. But it was not. She was a witch. It was the witch who pulled out on the prince. And higher, and higher. "You will never see Rapunzel again," screamed, and with that horrible shout, she ditched his braids. The prince fell to the ground. The prince lay for several hours as he fell, and when he finally opened his eyes, he could not see. He was blind. The prince wandered from place to place, looking for Rapunzel. One day, he heard her singing and immediately recognized her voice. Rapunzel was overjoyed, but when she saw the blind prince, she cried, hot tears streaming down. Some of her tears fell on the prince's face. Suddenly he could see. Her tears broke the spell of the terrible witch. Rapunzel and the prince were married and lived happily ever after. As for the old witch, he was not heard or seen again. It may still be locked up in the tower. Once she gave up braids, she had no way out of the tower on her own, did she? The story ended. We hope you like it.